Passionate about music.
I am so thrilled to be getting a call from New York City right now. One of the most colourful singers and songwriters since the early 80s. I've been a massive fan. Someone I've grown up listening to. It's Cyndi Lauper. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good.
I think
I'm so excited to talk to you.
Very excited to talk to you too.
I love England. I kind of miss it. I was tweeting yesterday, and I was seeing all the people from England tweeting me saying, when you coming? But it's good that I could talk to you because I kind of feel like at least I could say hello, you know?
Absolutely, and you have many fans here. There are many reasons to get excited about chatting to you right now because there are many things that we need to talk about. We need to talk about the book, we need to talk about the new music, the musical as well. Could we start with the book first of all? It's a memoir, isn't it? Cyndi Lauper, a memoir.
Yeah. Well, I think that, you know, when I first got the deal, I think they just signed me in a way because of my name and thinking, you know, I don't know, it was going to be a celebrity kind of tell-all book. And I don't read that stuff. And I just thought, I've been very fortunate in my life to have a very interesting life.
Yeah.
And even before I became famous. So, you know, my husband always said, hey, write your story down. And I tried to write a little bit of it in the songs as I wrote, but then I realized, you know, I always wanted to write a book, but I didn't have time to do that. So I did get a writer who had written, but she's a rock writer, and kind of started out doing it the way Keith Richards kind of did his.
Yeah.
And then as I read over all the interviews that I was doing while I was trying to do the other stuff, because unfortunately, Phil, everything at once happened. Like, you know how, like I just finished doing the Bring You to the Brink tour.
We love that album.
Back,
yeah.
Like way in 2008. And I got a phone call from Harvey Fierstein saying, hey, what are you doing? And I said, well, actually right now, nothing. And he said, would you like to write for Kinky Boots? So then I started that. And then a year before that, I was saying, boy, I really would love to write. So I got a book deal, and I said, well, I was thinking in my mind I was going to go away to the woods and just write, you know, kind of like Hemingway or something,
wishful
even
thinking.
though I never finished school, you know?
Sure. Can I say, you look absolutely gorgeous. The picture on the cover, you in your big heels, you look stunning. When was that photo taken?
That's when I first started.
Ah, okay.
My first band. That was when I became the lead singer. Because I started out as a background singer. I had, like, high hopes. Like, first when I was singing, I didn't know what. I just wanted to sing, and I was a partner with someone else. I think it was a duet. We had a duo band, and we called it Spring Harvest. Right then and there, I should have known nothing was going to happen. You know, but we were like, I was like 15, 16, and she was, 14, 15, so it wasn't going to go anywhere. She was finishing school. I knew I was headed for the dropout line, so I was looking to just do music, and it didn't happen. And then I don't know, I got sidetracked and became an art student, and I kept having dreams though that I was singing, so I wound up singing in a band doing backgrounds because I became enamored with Mary Clayton, and I just loved her work. And background singers, they could sing really high, they could sing really soft, they get to really sing, whereas the lead singer sings, they have to hold down the melody. So I was hoping to be that, but unfortunately for me, I joined some kind of a show band, and I couldn't dance and sing at the same time.
Do you remember much about this?
Falling, and they made me the lead singer. End of story. They made me the lead singer. So that was when I was the lead singer, and I was doing Janis Joplin covers, and the guy came in one day, the manager, and made me take off all my makeup. And he said Janis didn't wear makeup. So, I was kind of humiliated, but then I became used to walking around and singing on stage with big lights on you with no makeup. So that's where I was at that time when I started my journey into music. But I had lived a while doing a lot of different jobs.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that to write a book like this, Cyndi, you need to remember a lot of what happened back then, because obviously this is through the 70s and through the 80s. Do you remember a lot about that time? Or is it key things that stick out?
Bill, wait a minute. You got to remember one thing. I'm the guy who sings the songs, so you got to remember all those words. So you have to have a good memory.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I remember everything. And as I was writing, when I actually sat down and started writing, I started to remember, and I remembered one thing that my husband always said, because, it's specific writing is much better than general. So I really, also when you explain something to people, you have to be really specific. You have to remember, what was the day like, what it smelled like, what was I thinking, what was the sky like, where was I walking, what shoes was I wearing, what were my clothes, what did I take, And I remember very specifically when I left and the day I left, which was, kind of sad to walk away. And I had a paper bag. And a toothbrush and some extra underwear and an apple and Yoko Ono's grapefruit book that I took with me, because her book gave me, like the courage and the path, to show me that I really could create. If I couldn't create on the outside, I could have creative thought and create on the inside. And after, I had lived a couple of times, years on my own and went to Vermont to live, I only found myself in Vermont because Vermont looked like a nature show. It looked like something out of a movie. And I wanted to live like that. I wanted to live in a full way, in a way where I could experience real life and see beautiful things that were different from what I saw in the city. So I saw Lake Champlain, I saw the ferry going across it, and I thought to myself, I had a little harmonica, tried to figure out sitting on the dock on the bay, and I was like, hey, it's not a bay, but I could live here. So I did. It was things like that I was able to do. In that book, the way she wrote her pieces helped me to reframe my vision of the world and how I could actually fit. Because I was a bit of an outcast anyway. No matter how hard I tried to fit in, I didn't. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw The Apprentice. Did The Apprentice here, in 2010, 2009, and no matter how much you try or you think that you're going to change, you don't really change. You change maybe on the outside, but just because your hair or your clothes may be a little different, it's really, the reason that is like that is because it's just an expression of your true self. And I thought that life had changed after I'd been famous and people were more accepting and blah, blah, blah. But when I went back to do that show, I realized that no matter how you try and fit in, I'm not going to fit in.
Well, do you know what? I was just going to say, I think the most creative people are the outcasts. I think the outcasts are certainly up there, in the imagination. I think it's where you really excel, I think, because you've got stories to tell.
Well, I remembered, I was lucky. And I had, honestly, Phil, I had some really great things happen in my life, and like miracles that happened to me. And every time I see a rainbow, I think of when I was in Vermont, and I actually only had my dog, and I took a job, and unfortunate circumstances happened at the job, and a little 5-year-old boy ran over my dog with a pug tractor. So you can't really get mad. He's 5 years old.
Yeah.
But it was like my whole world was going in. I remember that night when I went to sleep. The daytime there was a rainbow in the sky, and at night I had a dream. And it sounds like a religious moment, and honestly, I don't know. I think things are symbolic in your mind. But in the dream, I kind of, because I was raised Catholic, I kind of saw the Blessed Mother's face across the sky. And I had to wait and see if my dog lived through the night to see if she would live. And the dream was all of us in the field and the rainbow in the sky, and her face kind of took up the sky, and she kind of had freckles. It was kind of awesome. It was not anything I was taught. And she looked at me, and she smiled. And the next morning, the dog had lived through the night, and I got my dog back. And every time I see a rainbow now, I always think of her. I always think of the sky. And so I feel like I was always blessed.
Oh,
not
amazing.
that it's a religious thing, because
something
I always think Our Lady of the Rainbow.
Now I've got to talk about American Idol, Cyndi, as well, because I saw you performing time after time, and it was a really different version, which was great because it kind of refreshed the classic that we all know as well. That was a couple of years ago, was it now? American Idol. When you were
well, I knew Ricky Minor, and he's a really cool guy and very much a musician. So when we went to do this, I knew there was a kid who needed to have a moment, and I wanted to be able to dig into the rhythm, the right kind of rhythm that she would feel a kind of interior swing to the music, something with the right rhythm, grounded for her, and give her a moment to really engage her and experience a kind of call and response, that whether she would win the outcome, she would be the winner or not, she would walk away from that experience with a real experience of connecting when you sing to the other person and the music in a very deep way. So that's why I tried to create that mood and experience for her, and Ricky was very generous in letting me do that.
It's a great performance. Does it feel like it's important to you to refresh the old classics? Because obviously, that's something that, say, someone like Madonna has done recently. It's kind of reworked the old stuff. Is it quite difficult to play the old songs that you've played so many times before? Because we still love those old tracks.
Oh, no, but, since 1994, when I was coming to Europe, I redid it. It depends on the band that you have. See, whatever band you have, as a band leader, you have to look at the musicians. And it's not a record. It's a live performance.
Yeah,
and a song is a song. And a good song will hold up. You don't need all the accoutrements if you have the accoutrements right in the song, like a good story, a real story, visuals, and a melody that you can connect with, and an interior rhythm that sways your soul a little. I know this sounds very highbrow. I'm trying to make it clear, and sometimes I talk and people go, huh? But, I don't know.
I totally understand it. We've got to talk about Kinky Boots as well, because this is so exciting. This is a musical that you've co-written, haven't you? Your theatrical debut, if you like, Kinky Boots.
Well, I love Harvey Fierstein, or Firestein. I call him Harvey Firestein. Some people call him Harvey Fierstein, but he's Harvey to me. And I have a great respect for him as a activist, as a person for the community that I work so closely with and am a friend and family member of. So when Harvey calls me on the phone, that was huge.
Yeah.
And I am still, I have a very deep respect for him as a writer and a storyteller. And so when he asked me to write songs for him, most of my life and career, especially in the beginning, has always been about arrangement. The Girls Just Want to Have Fun was my arrangement. I was able to take Money Changes Everything and create, I did it with Rob Hyman, with Eric Bazillion, with Rick Chertoff, and with Bill Whitman, and we all worked together, but I, was so focused on creating a sound and a style and a way to sing songs that sounded like you owned them as opposed to just singing a cover, to have something original, put a new life in a story. So because it was always about arrangement, I was always getting, hey, why don't you do this cover? Why don't you, and then sometimes, Phil, you just want to write your own rhythm of your own speech. And I struggled most of my career with having people have no faith in anything that I could write. I mean, sometimes they were like, wow, Time After Time was really great, but they didn't. I had to fight to write that song, and I couldn't. So when Harvey called me and he said he wanted me to write, I was so blown away and honored, and I thought to myself, here's a guy you admire so much. He's asking you to write for him. So I said, yeah. And it's been a great experience because I'm being walked through, this different world with someone who was very generous to walk me through. And along with him is this guy, Jerry Mitchell, who I worked with on Hey Now, because, listen, I was fired as the background singer dancer from the first band I was in because I fell all the time. So I'm not exactly the best dancer in one of those aerobic lineups, you know what I mean? I usually bunk into somebody. And I worked with Jerry, and Jerry was, he was really great. He looked at the way I moved and he helped me to, count to 8, which I have a problem counting to 8. I count to 4. The answers always count to 8. And by the time you get to 8, I'm thinking, what bar am I on?
One of those songs from that work is Sex is in the Hill, which I've got to tell you, if you don't know already, went straight on our A-list here at Gaydar.
Oh, that's great. I love the whole Danny Verdi thing.
Oh, that's the mix that we play. We love that.
Oh, because, I'm Italian. My mother, her family's from Sicily, though, but every time I have any connection with an Italian, I feel like, oh, my brethren. But I'm very excited about it. And listen, in the end, there I was, because so when I was a little kid, the first time I was singing, as any kid, you go through your parents' records. And my mother had records, vinyls, and it was all Broadway shows.
Yeah.
So let's face it, I was Enzio Penza. I was Mary Martin in South Pacific. I was all those characters.
That's brilliant.
I was Funny Girl, Barbara Streisand and Funny Girl. I was her, but I was also her mother, and I was also all the other parts, because that's how I played. So when I'm doing this play thing, and I realized, hey, this is like being 5 again, because I can be all the characters, and nobody's going to tell me, hey, you can't write like that because you're Cyndi Lauper and you're supposed to be, which I hate. I hate when somebody tells me no, Phil.
Oh, yeah, you want to do it even more so, don't you? Somebody tells you not to do something. You've got to... Can I just ask you, though, because obviously this is going to be hitting Broadway, isn't it? Is it October, the Kinky Boots show? Is it going to come to London, or do you not know yet?
I hope it does.
Yeah, I hope it does,
too. I get to go to London, and I love London. But I think that it's going to Chicago first. That's the one thing. And because in a couple of weeks, I have to go to Chicago. Because, with a play, you keep writing it, and we have these wonderful people that are in the play, like Stark Sands is Charlie. Did you ever see the movie Kinky Boots?
I've never seen it. A lot of my friends have seen it. I've never watched it, but I think I would love it. I'm sure I would love it.
It's based on a real story. It's based on a story that of an incident that really happened in, I guess, Northampton, of a factory, shoe factory that was closing, and the guy who was the son, who enlisted someone he happened to meet, you know, and they couldn't have been more opposite, you know, and like one is it dresses like a woman and is a black man, and one is a white guy, a real factory bloke kind of guy, and both of them were not the image that their father would have liked.
Yeah.
So the reason I found the story so compelling was because it's about humanity. It's about your relationship with Dad. And as a mom, I watched my son growing up, you know, next to my husband, who I knew, you know, obviously, before this little fellow came along, and I watched him at a very young age try and walk like him and try and be like him, and the disappointment that comes with every boy, because you're never going to be your dad or what you think your dad wants. But in the end, I think as a parent or your dad would want to help you to be who you are, to succeed as who you are, the best that we can help a kid. So anyway, this thing, though, is about two people whose parents or fathers are dead, who join forces and create this kinky boot, which, you know, they were able to save a factory, a neighborhood, people's jobs, a community of people who worked in a factory that would have lost everything, and 3 generations of that. And both of them, it tells about how both of them kind of come around, and you would think that they're so opposite. But really, in the end, the issue was the same, you know, and to me, said, wow, this is a bigger project than loving shoes. Because let's face it, Phil, I'm not a Melga Marcos, but hey, I love shoes, and I can talk about that all day.
I want to go and watch the movie now. I'm particularly keen on the musical as well, so hopefully when you bring it to London, we can see it then. I've just got it, because I know we haven't got much time, Cyndi, which is a shame.
I'm sorry, I talk too much.
I could chat to you all day, seriously, but it's an absolute joy to have you on the show. But I know I've just got to quickly thank you also for the excellent work that you do for the LGBT community, because I think on behalf of so many people, I think you know you need to get the acclaim, and I'm sure that you get a lot of acclaim for this. But the Give a Damn campaign, campaign that you're working for is just superb.
Good, right? Because they were telling me, you know how it goes. Listen, I could no longer at one point just sit by and watch what was happening and not step up. That's the truth. And then the reason Give a Damn came about is because we started to get guff like, who the hell were we straight people doing a gay tour? And I was thinking, no, I wanted to do an inclusive tour, and I think that in any civil rights movement, that's how I view it, you need everybody on board. So then that's when I told the guy I'm working with, Gregory, listen, let's work on this thing, because now that's a great idea. Let's make it so that it's a kind of sexy thing for everybody to want to step forward and say, yeah, I believe in civil rights, you know, or tell their stories. Because when I was growing up, I grew up in the 70s, which was the women's consciousness raising thing, which was based on you'd sit around and everybody tell their story, and the older women would tell their story, and you would learn from their story. So I thought that would be a good thing. So that's how that went. And then we found ourselves in another situation where we could help the homeless kids, because we realized there were so many homeless kids. There's about up to 40% of the homeless kids on the street are gay or transgender. And I'm saying gay or transgender because when you say to the straight people LGBT, they say stuff to you like, what's that? You know?
Yeah.
So I tried to dumb it down to the simplest thing, because I think that people in general are fair-minded and they just don't know what really goes on. So that's how I thought I could be of assistance. Now, I'll tell you, I think now, if I've been working hard, I can make myself more of a success, and then I don't have to go hat in hand. I could really maybe help these kids in a way, find a way that I could really be useful as opposed to just a vanity project, because, why bother with that? So that's how all this happened. And I didn't do it for the accolades. I did it because, honestly, there's a real need, Phil. And there's a lot of kids on the street who are only on the street because they're gay or transgender, because their parents have nobody to talk to when the kid comes out to the parents. And any kind of, through research, because we researched it, any kind of acceptance, anything, Phil, even if the parent says, listen, you're my kid, I love you, but you got to give me a minute. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around this whole gay thing. Give me a second. You're still my kid and I love you. Just give me a minute. Then even just that would help the kid, and the kid, a lot of times, the kid won't run away out of fear or rejection. You see what I'm saying?
Do you know what, Cyndi? I think it's very obvious that you don't do it just for the accolades, and I think it's much to be applauded. I think so many people respect you, not just as an artist, because obviously you've got the respect for that anyway, but as a human being who is doing great work for so many different people. So I think it is definitely noted, and I think you do a fantastic job. Listen, we really want you to come to the UK, and we'd love to see you. So you need to come down to Gaydar to see us next time when you're here.
Oh, I'd love to, and keep dancing in your red shoes. You can never take those red shoes off, and if they're kinky red boots, hey, come on.
We will do it. Cyndi Lauper, an absolute joy to chat to you. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Have a great summer.
You too. Thanks, darling.
All right.
Passionate about music.